So this guy, Keith Sigmon, has been sitting on death row for over 20 years, fighting off execution after execution. But now, time's up. South Carolina has set the date, March 7th, 2025, and this time, there's no getting out of it. But here's where things get crazy, because his case isn't just about him anymore. See, South Carolina hasn't executed anyone in over a decade, and that's because they haven't been able to get their hands on lethal injection drugs. Turns out, pharmaceutical companies don't want their drugs being used for executions anymore, so they stopped selling them to states with the death penalty. That means South Carolina, like a few other states, had to bring back older methods, which is why Sigmon was given a choice between the electric chair and a firing squad. Yeah, they gave him a choice. And in February 2025, he made his decision. He picked the firing squad, making him the first person in 15 years to be executed this way in the US. His lawyers called it an impossible choice, arguing that forcing someone to pick how they die is inhumane. But at this point, nothing can save him. The courts have rejected every single appeal, and now the countdown has begun. But how did he get here? How did a bad breakup turn into one of the most brutal crimes in South Carolina history? Let's rewind, because this story, it's insane. It's April 2001 in Greenville County, South Carolina, and Keith Sigmon is not handling life well. He's 43 years old, no stable career, no real future, just a guy trying to keep his life together. And the one thing he thinks he still has? His girlfriend, Rebecca Barbara. But here's the thing, Rebecca is done. This relationship, a disaster. Sigmon has a serious temper, and after dealing with his jealousy, his controlling behavior, and his anger, Rebecca finally calls it quits. She packs her things, moves out, and heads straight back to her parents' house, William and Gladys Lark. Now, a normal person? They'd move on, maybe cry into a beer, maybe send a couple of desperate texts before finally letting it go. Not Sigmon. He starts obsessing over it. He calls her nonstop, leaves voicemails, tries to get her to talk to him, and when Rebecca blocks him, ignores him, and refuses to come back, that's when Sigmon snaps. On April 27, 2001, he stops begging and starts planning. He grabs a baseball bat, gets in his car, and drives straight to Rebecca's parents' house. But here's the thing. Rebecca isn't even home. Inside, William and Gladys Lark are just going about their day. Maybe watching TV, maybe making coffee, completely unaware that their daughter's ex is about to break into their home with nothing but bad intentions. Real quick, if you like this story so far, go ahead and like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next on Talescape. All right, back to it. Sigmon bursts through the door and comes face to face with William, 62 years old, a retired hardworking man who never saw this coming. Before he can react, Sigmon raises the bat and swings. Gladys, 59 years old, hears the noise and rushes in, and the second she sees what's happening, she tries to run. But Sigmon is faster. He catches up to her and does the exact same thing. By the time he stops, both of them are lying on the floor, motionless. And then, he starts trashing the place, flipping furniture, breaking things, looking for Rebecca. He tears through the house, probably thinking she's hiding somewhere, but she's not there. She has no idea what's happening. So instead, Sigmon steals their car and takes off. But this isn't over yet, because after leaving the house, Sigmon isn't done. Sigmon is speeding down the highway, still in William and Gladys Lark's stolen car, and now? It's only a matter of time before police catch up. The second authorities found the crime scene, they put out an all-points bulletin, and now, every officer in South Carolina is hunting him down. But Sigmon? He's not turning himself in. Instead of laying low, he makes his next move. He goes after the one person he's been obsessed with this whole time, Rebecca. By now, she's in complete shock after hearing what happened to her parents. She's trying to process the nightmare, and the last thing she expects? Sigmon showing up. But that's exactly what happens. Somehow, despite every cop looking for him, Sigmon tracks her down. And when he does, he's armed. She barely has time to react before he grabs her, shoves a gun in her face, and forces her into the car. Just hours after destroying her family, he's now holding her hostage. At this point, Rebecca has to make a choice: fight back and risk everything, or go along with it and hope for an opening. She stays calm, doesn't scream, doesn't run. She knows if she makes the wrong move, Sigmon won't hesitate. Now, Sigmon is driving with Rebecca in the car, still on the run, still thinking he can somehow get away with everything. But what he doesn't know, the net is closing in fast, because while he's kidnapping Rebecca, police are tracking the stolen car. And then, they spot him. A patrol unit sees the vehicle on the road and starts following at a distance. They don't turn on their lights yet. They don't want to spook him into doing something reckless. But Sigmon? He notices. His grip on the wheel tightens. He starts breathing heavier. And Rebecca? She knows something's about to go down. Then the sirens flip on. This is it. High-speed chase. Sigmon slams the gas, trying to outrun the cops, weaving through traffic at dangerous speeds. Rebecca is trapped in the passenger seat, gripping the door, trying not to panic. Police start closing in, but Sigmon, he's not stopping. He's blowing past red lights, cutting through intersections, barely missing other cars. This guy is desperate, and that makes him dangerous. Then, a roadblock up ahead. More patrol cars blocking the highway, officers standing by with weapons drawn. There's nowhere to go. Sigmon has seconds to react, and he makes his choice. He slams the brakes. Tires screech, smoke fills the air, and the car skids to a stop just before hitting the barricade. And before he can grab his gun, cops are already surrounding him. Guns aimed, orders shouted, the whole highway shut down. Sigmon throws open the door like he's going to run, but he doesn't get far. Within seconds, officers take him down, pin him to the ground, and cuff him right there on the pavement. Rebecca? She's safe. But Sigmon? He's finished. They throw him in the back of a squad car, and just like that, his 2-day crime spree is over. But the real fight? That's just beginning. Because when this goes to trial, he's about to learn what real punishment looks like. Brad Keith Sigmon is finally in custody, sitting in the back of a police cruiser, wrists cuffed so tight they're turning red. He's breathing heavy, staring out the window as flashing lights bounce off the glass. The weight of what just happened, it's finally hitting him, but it's too late. By the time they pull up to Greenville County Detention Center, the place is already swarming. Reporters, officers, detectives, everyone wants to see the guy who just tore apart a family and led cops on a chase across the state. The second they drag him inside, it's all business. Mugshot, fingerprints, confiscate everything he has. Officers shove him into a holding cell, slam the door shut, and for the first time in 48 hours, Sigmon is completely alone, no gun, no control, no way out, and that is where he stays. Days turn into weeks, and when the trial finally starts in July 2002, it's a full-blown courtroom spectacle. The prosecution isn't here to debate. They're here to bury him. Every detail of his crime is laid out in brutal clarity. How he forced his way into the Larks' home, how he ambushed them with a baseball bat, how he stole their car, kidnapped Rebecca, and tried to run from police. The evidence? Overwhelming. The jury? Already leaning toward a guilty verdict? But the moment that crushes everyone? When Rebecca Barber takes the stand. She barely holds it together as she describes what happened. The stalking, the threats, the moment she realized her parents were gone because of the man she once trusted. And then, she breaks down. She says she keeps replaying it in her head, wondering if she had just handled things differently. Would her parents still be alive? Nobody in that courtroom believes for a second that this was her fault. But Sigmon, he just sits there, expressionless. The jury doesn't need much time. Guilty, on all counts, and the sentence, death. Sigmon doesn't flinch. No outburst, no begging, just blank silence. But that's not the end, because death row cases don't move fast. For over 20 years, Sigmon fights it, appeal after appeal, dragging his case through every court possible, trying to find any loophole that'll save his life. His lawyers throw out every excuse they can think of: his childhood, his mental health, his emotional state at the time of the crime. But one by one, the courts shut them down. 2005, denied. 2013, denied. 2018, still denied. 2021, the U.S. Supreme Court refuses to even hear his case. By 2025, South Carolina is done waiting. The state officially schedules his execution for March 7, 2025. But there's a problem. They don't have the drugs for lethal injection. For years, pharmaceutical companies have refused to sell execution drugs, leaving states like South Carolina without a way to carry out the death penalty. So what do? they bring back the old methods. Sigmon is given a choice: electric chair or firing squad. His lawyers call it inhumane, arguing that forcing someone to pick how they die is its own kind of cruel punishment. But South Carolina? They're moving forward. As the date gets closer, Sigmon doesn't fight anymore. No more last-minute appeals, no desperate attempts to delay. He makes his final decision. He picks the firing squad. Unless something major happens in the next few weeks, March 7, 2025 will be his last day alive. After 2 decades of legal battles, appeals, and delays, his time is finally up. That's the story. Now I want to hear what you think. Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. And if you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.